Before we can discuss how early you should start your MBA applications, we need to understand the MBA application timelines. Here it is in brief, and this is a generalization. Many schools have their own variations on this standard process. Most schools have 3 rounds of deadlines for full-time programs. 1 in September, 1 in January, and 1 in March or April. Applicants should do their best to get their applications in round 1 or at the latest in round 2, and most applicants should avoid applying in round 3 because so many spaces have been given away in a class. So if you're targeting those first 2 rounds, September and January, what other milestones do you need to know about? Well, essay questions tend to be released in May or June, and the broader applications, with all the requirements for recommendations and short answers and more, tend to come out in late June or early July. While most well-prepared applicants need about 4 months to complete their essays and broader MBA applications, applicants should start pre-application work well before that. Of course, you can't just show up in May when the essays are released, or in September if you're targeting the second round, and just start channeling your inner Hemingway. Many applicants start preparing to work on their applications a year before, or even longer than that, by engaging in comprehensive pre-work. Most top programs require that you take a standardized test to help assess your academic ability. Like I said, you can't just show up in May or September and expect to leap into the process. Whether you're taking the GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment, or even other tests that are now a possibility at some schools, it's a good idea to prepare, take, and retake your exam before you start your applications, if possible, months before. This will help you better identify your target programs based on your academic qualifications. And since scores are good for 5 years, getting this important step out of the way ahead of time will free you up later to focus on the other aspects of your application. So if essays come out in May, you want to start your test prep months earlier. Our friends at Manhattan Prep recommend taking 3 to 4 months to study for your test. So you want to start studying in January or February of your application year at the latest if you're targeting round 1, or May or June if you're targeting round 2 in January, again, at the latest. Again, remember though, we're talking the latest. I keep emphasizing that you can get your test done years earlier. It doesn't have to happen right before your application. If your GPA is below your target program's averages, or you have an academic concern, particularly if you're concerned that you can't reveal your quantitative competencies via your transcript or your test scores, you should take a class or 2 in a relevant quantitative or business area to show that you can handle the academics in an MBA program. Again, important to do this way ahead of time so you can get an A in the class, and note that in your optional essays, you've taken additional coursework. Strong performance in introductory classes like stats or econ or calculus, or alternatively, completion of the HBS Credential of Readiness for MBA studies can help you reveal your capabilities. But these certificate programs or classes often require a semester of study. Again, you ideally want to take these well before your application year. You don't want to be studying for an econ exam while working your full-time job and completing applications during the August before your application is submitted in September. So we would suggest getting this step done by the end of May if you're targeting round 1, or by September at the latest if you're targeting round 2. Ideally, if you're targeting round 1, you take the GRE or GMAT in the fall at the latest so that it concludes by December, and then determine if you need to take those additional courses and have them done by the end of the winter term in March so that you can start applying in the spring. And this timeline can be adjusted for round 2. I just threw a lot at you. Really think carefully about this as you create your own plan. You can go back and you can re-listen to this video. Having clear, growth-oriented post-MBA career goals will also be an important part of your applications. Start early to think about options that you're interested in. Do your research, including conducting informational interviews and job shadowing, so you're ready with career goals that are ambitious and growth-oriented, but also realistic and attainable. You should do your utmost to network and be sure to show knowledge of your target post-MBA careers and your skill and experience fits with them. Again, this is ongoing, but you need to have a strong sense of your professional future before you start writing those essays in May or September, depending on your round. We should note that even as you're considering your future, you should definitely keep building up your professional experience. So you have leadership examples and accomplishments that show relevant skills and experiences, differentiate you from similar applicants, and show the impact you've made. Again, this should be ongoing. One area where you can be proactive early MBA programs are looking for applicants who can showcase leadership outside of work. It's never too early to build up your community accomplishments. If you aren't involved in anything yet, a year prior to applying is generally the latest that you can credibly engage, though there are always exceptions if you're making a meaningful commitment in a shorter period of time. Still, the long haul tends to benefit applicants. A year should kind of be the latest for most applicants. What other steps need to be done? You need to research your target schools so that you can meaningfully link your story to their offerings, classes, clubs, pedagogical approaches, and more, by attending admissions events online, potentially visiting campuses, speaking with students and alumni. You will build both your target program list and be in a position to show that you have a thoughtful connection to your target program. Again, this step is ongoing, but it's not the type of information that you can quickly gather from the scan of a website the week before your applications are due. You need to become conversant in the language of your target schools, and that can take months. Okay, moving on with your long-term plan. One last thing you can do prior to essays being released or quite early in the round 2 process, if that is your approach, update your resume. Virtually all admissions committees ask you for a resume, and yours needs to be a highlight reel of your professional accomplishments. Community and personal accomplishments are quite relevant. It can take hours to craft a resume. By getting this out of the way before May, you know that you won't have an extra item to stress about before submitting your applications in September or January. So those are the pre-application steps that you can take. Once your pre-application work is out of the way, you're ready to start to work on the actual application. It's the most time-consuming part of the application itself, the essays. So that's where we recommend you start right away. But you can't just leap in. We strongly encourage you to start by brainstorming for a breadth of personal, professional, and community stories. Once you've chosen anecdotes that best respond to each school's essay prompts, only then can you begin to write and refine your essays until they tell your strongest story. It almost always takes several rounds of revisions to get your strongest stories. Plan accordingly. Start as soon as the essay questions come out, or as soon as you commit to applying if you're an applicant in round 2. You also need to be thoughtful and strategic in selecting your recommenders, identifying someone who will write you a glowing recommendation, demonstrate your key strengths with concrete examples, and of course, get it done for the deadlines. At the latest, you want to be asking your recommenders to write on your behalf by June if you're applying in round 1, and October if you're applying in round 2. You want to select and prepare your recommenders early in the process so that you give them plenty of time to write strong recommendations. We also recommend that you start completing the application itself as soon as your essays are taking shape. Some programs ask a baffling number of detailed short answer questions, and this can take more time than you expect. Jamming on these questions on deadline day is a huge mistake. Take action weeks, if not months before then. One final timeline tip: we always push our applicants to submit a few days ahead of deadlines to ensure that they don't encounter any technical glitches when so many applicants are submitting, and that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Being on time doesn't mean pressing submit at the last minute. Okay, that was a whirlwind. Ready to get started? Watch our next video to learn more about the MBA Mission team and how we can keep you on track with your applications.